She got the weapon for self-protection. She told me days beforehand, Dad, I really feel like I need a weapon for protection. And since there were multiple shell casings found and a live round found, it already didn't make much sense. So it would seem that they would automatically do a complete toxicology, not just blood alcohol, and a complete autopsy, which they did not do. And we're just devastated that they didn't, because John Paul rushed the cremation process with the bruising on her hands and on her arm, scratches on her hands, indicating defensive wounds. The park ranger took us back to the scene and pointed out, here's where she would have been standing, here's where the shell casings and the live round were, which also doesn't make sense. She knew how to use a weapon. She's qualified. She's been through training. She's not going to charge the weapon and eject a live round. She already knows. The first rule of gun use is knowing the condition of the gun. I mean, there is what would be an apparent bullet hole in a tree. They just didn't seem to put the effort forth. There was no trees in the water. There was nothing there that would have scratched her hands the way they were. I mean, like this.
She's not alive because he was doing stuff with the money and taxes or whatever he's doing illegally, and she didn't want any part of it. That's why she's not here. Whether he did it or had somebody do it, I think he's capable of that. I've heard him make comments like that. If you do something to him, he's going to do you double time to get back at you. He said that several times. That's the way he is. That's how his mind is. I remember him telling me that. You do him wrong, he's going to do you double wrong. She got sick of it, and she wanted to do good things with the church, and he wants to pocket the money and not do good things with the church and just make himself more rich.
Hi everyone. Well, here we are again, dedicated to Mica's voice. Mica Miller, wife of John Paul Miller, who tragically passed away on April 27th of 2024. They say self-inflicted gunshot wound. We say we're not sure about that. We don't trust that. We stand behind her family, who believe that she was purchasing the weapon for protection. Something that Mica had voiced before her passing was that she was in fear for her life. Plus, a crime scene doesn't add up. And now J.P. Miller has spoken out, and we're going to talk about it. One thing that we know about JP's character, not the most accountable guy known to man. Quite opposite, actually. But today, we are going to be hearing clips of his statement that he has released for the first time. And I get it. I get why he attracts a crowd. He's got a nice charm going on to him. That's not the problem for this guy. He's got a lot of draw to him at first. The problem is it's not real. He's got two sides. What he wants you to see and know, and then what he is, and what there is to know. So today we're going to go into what there is to know about John Paul Miller. Now we know that he has been seen out at least twice with Susie Skinner, who took up for him by saying, well, it wasn't a date. Nobody else would go to eat with him, so I went. Well, we're about to find out more about the truth on that today. Because I always thought it was a date. Because that's not normal, to go out with a woman within days of your wife's death, unless there was a reason to be that close. It's seriously inappropriate. I always wondered why she would risk her reputation and protect him, and we're about to find that out. So let's get into the latest update. Sun's out, buns out, I guess. This is J.P. Miller getting a tan. Far opposite from a hermit, which is something that he declares in his latest statement that you're going to hear today. He's with a woman, and I got her name. I'm not going to say her name on here right now, but someone who is within the Church of Solid Rock and considerably a friend of Mica's. And this woman had recently filed for divorce, which is a huge red flag for her to be on the beach after Mica's death with JP. That's how they get you. That's a narc's favorite place to find you, is a vulnerable place in your life. I thought it was particularly interesting when I looked up this individual a bit more that she was affiliated with inked tattoos. And one of the first things that JP ends up telling us, the audience, when he comes out to speak is, my tattoos, he starts talking about his tattoos. Now I get it. Somebody probably asked about it, but I just thought that was really weird because usually these kind of people. They size the person up. They get to know the person's strengths, weaknesses, stories, interests, hobbies, all the things. And then they end up becoming a lot like their prey, mirroring the best things about the person that they are about to suck the life right out of. And this woman that he's hanging out with is into tattoos. So that was very interesting. Could be something, could be nothing. Moving on into more important things. J.P. Miller wrote a letter years ago to his congregation at the time of his affair, after he was with his first wife, Alison, when the church found out that he had been unfaithful to his wife. And he promised to change back then. Dear friends, it's funny how the last series I preached on tests, trials, and attacks. I can honestly say I need to re-listen to my own sermons. Though Solid Rock is going through a big trial, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I failed a test. I repented. I am and will for years to come remain faithful in counseling and have more accountability than ever. Wait a minute. Am I wrong here? Did he do this? Did he keep his promise and really just get the most two insane women of all time? Is J.P. Miller, pastor of Solid Rock Church, being defamed and framed? Nah. Got you, J.P. Now, Alison Williams has filed an affidavit in the last few days, just a month after Mica's death. And we're going to read it today because the promise to change and the displayed behavior says more than he says. It says a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, latest affidavit by Alison, his ex-wife. So this is an emergency affidavit that Alison has asked for. She said, John Paul has exhibited increasingly unstable behaviors. His mental health has increasingly deteriorated and he has demonstrated behavior patterns that are erratic and irrational. Taking a time machine all the way to October 30th of 2015. All right, plaintiff alleges that since the entry of parties' prior final order, defendant has exhibited increasingly unstable behaviors, failed to provide a safe and stable environment for the minor children during his periods of visitation, and has both exposed and involved the minor children in incidents of domestic disputes and discord, which have been traumatic to the minor children and not in their best interest. And this is where she goes on to explain that his mental state has definitely deteriorated. The defendant has used the joint custodial designation of the parties as a mechanism to harass, threaten, and control the plaintiff. As a result, the parties are not able to effectively communicate or co-parent in a manner necessary to share joint custody of their minor children, and plaintiff alleges it would be detrimental to the safety, welfare, and emotional health of both plaintiff and minor children to continue sharing joint custody. Therefore, plaintiff is requesting the court issue an order granting plaintiff sole custody of the minor children permanently. And I love this because one thing that we haven't talked a lot about is what this has put the children in the home through. In line 20, it says that he exposed the minor children to his marital difficulties. Plaintiff further contends that since the entry of the parties' prior final order, the current wife of defendant Mica Miller was recently found deceased, the tragic facts and circumstances of which have become a major focus of social media, local and national news. Against the objections of the plaintiff, the defendant has discussed the matter with the children, and plaintiff believes given the totality of the circumstances, placing the children in the care of the defendant would place them in imminent danger and not be in their best interest. Line 22 would go on to say that Mica had been talking to Alison about the concerns and the safety of the children. Alison even says plaintiff contends that until the time of Mica's death, Mica, provided a safety net for the children during their periods of visitation with the defendant, John Paul Miller. And based upon her recent death, this is no longer possible. I mean, this is Alison having Mica's back, saying that she protected my kids. I could trust the situation more back then. Now that she's gone, mysteriously, my kids aren't safe with this guy. I don't have anybody to protect my kids now. There is no protective wedge between this mentally unstable guy and our children. Take my children out of the home until this guy gets a psychological evaluation and actually follows protocol and safety recommendations from professionals and doctors. Take my kids away from this man. Give them to me. Protect my family. In the first video that I released, we talked about how he manipulated the system, and he said that he wasn't making enough money and he couldn't pay enough child support and he shouldn't have to pay alimony. This is partially my favorite part in the affidavit. Line 31, plaintiff further alleges that since the entry of the party's prior final order, in addition to defendant having a substantial increase in earnings, the monthly expenses of both plaintiff and the minor children have increased. And based on her financial needs and the defendant's ability to pay, she is entitled to an increase in alimony and requests the court issue an order for the same. And permanently. I'm dead. But my concern with that is that he is on leave and that he still has a few flying monkeys. I mean, I know that some people that used to back him have walked out and said that, he's not the guy that we thought he was once they actually saw the proof. But it just concerns me that he is so manipulative. This man spends his life master manipulating. He's already like 10 to 15 steps ahead of us in how this is all gonna go. What's gonna happen next? Because it's gotta be within his control. And he doesn't do things right from wrong. He does things that it's gonna fit his world, his narrative, his best interest. When you're not selfish like that, you can't possibly know what those kind of people are gonna say or think. But they have pattern. So we can't really know what he's going to do. I mean, he's court ordered to do the right thing, but he didn't do it the first time. It's a pattern. He's most likely going to try to get out of it. In 2015, JP was the pastor of Solid Rock Ministries, and I served as his assistant. We separated after I learned JP was having an affair with our former nanny, Mica Miller, who joined the church at age 15 and was married to JP's best friend. JP told me that in addition to his affair with Mica, he had employed prostitutes and had been sexually inappropriate with several underage members of our church. He blamed his immoral sexual behaviors on his sexual abuse he experienced for years by his father, Wayne Miller. We got it. I didn't know that he had been essayed by his own father, but I had a feeling because usually the dynamic of somebody that's mentally unwell growing within the world and ignoring it, something's behind them. Something's in childhood. At the time, the church requested that JP enroll in an extensive sexual addiction program. However, despite him promising me that he would, to my knowledge, that never happened. Well, yeah, we just talked about that. He not only promised Alison for himself, her, and the children to get assistance, he promised this to his congregation as well. And here we are, years and years and years later. She says the affair between JP and Mica tore our personal and church family apart and caused a huge amount of pain and discord in the lives of so many innocent people who truly trusted and believed JP at the time. At the time the church learned about JP's affair with Mica, the church was operating under the belief the old bylaws of our church had been amended and we were operating under new bylaws JP represented had been put in place and required the formation of a board of council members to approve any major decisions regarding the church, including financials. When the council voted to have JP temporarily step down from the head pastor position so he could seek treatment for his self-reported sexual addictions and focus on his restoration instead of following the direction of our church leaders, JP held a meeting and informed the council the new bylaws were invalid and therefore, going back to the old bylaws, he had 100% decision-making authority. That was the first time members of our church had an opportunity to see JP for who he really was and became gravely concerned about his integrity and financial structure of the church as a result. Almost our entire congregation left the church, and JP began his quest to recruit new members and operate Solid Rock Ministries solely at his direction. After JP informed informed me that he had been inappropriate with minor female members of our church and disclosed to me the identity of these girls, I immediately contacted them to encourage them to come forward. Although they each shared with me detailed accounts of what JP did to them, they were too, scared to make police reports or testify in court. When I learned they were fearful to report JP, I went to the police department requesting an investigation. However, I was in essence told by police officials that nobody would believe me because JP was a well-known pastor and we were in the middle of a divorce. Without the testimony of the victims, there was little else I could do to prove what JP had done to ensure he was held accountable. To that end, JP had periods of visitation with our children. However, we agreed JP's visitation with our daughter, who is a subject to his action, would be restricted to solely daytime periods of visitation. In 2021 through 2022, things gradually began to change to the detriment of our children and have escalated to the severity of where things are today. JP and Mica began having severe marital difficulties, and our children were placed directly in the middle of this discord. JP would preach sermons on the Sundays our children were with him and present in the congregation, indicating that Mica had mental health issues and eventually putting her in a mental hospital. The children were subjected to JP calling Mica crazy one day and then her being back in the home at their next visit with their father, assuring them she was fine. They never knew what to expect. On occasion, while picking up our daughter, I observed holes in their walls, hinges off the doors, and pieces of paper taped to the wall with negative affirmations about Mica. JP told me and our children that Mica was delusional and speaking different languages and seeing things that were not there. And she would go on to say that his way of not seeing his children and showing up as the father that he really needed to be, he would just blame Mica. She's crazy. Yeah, I agree. They probably shouldn't be here more than they need to. So he would pick up the kids and have dinner with them. And that's basically what it was. Line 14. JP began spending time with his now paramour, Susie, who was the mother of one of the boys that plays with our son's soccer team. JP began using our son to facilitate times he could spend with Susie, which our children were well aware of. Their friends talked about it, and it caused them a tremendous amount of embarrassment. When I learned JP was exposing our children to yet another one of his adulterous affairs, I confronted JP and Susie and told them not to let it happen again. JP called me the day Susie's husband died in an alleged drowning accident, extremely upset and asking me to pray, which was incredibly bizarre. Based upon information and belief, just 2 weeks prior to this incident, Susie's husband had confronted JP and asked him to leave his wife and children alone. It is chilling to know that the spouses of both Susie and JP are now dead from tragic events. I'm done. What can I say? We've talked about it and we've talked about it. Trusting law enforcement, the quick cremation, the strange phone call, her actions before she died, Mica. And now, Alison, who knows him better than the internet itself. She's saying these things. This is weird. This is not okay. My children are not safe with this man. Susie was in an affair with my husband. Line 15. It was around this time JP's mental health seemed to be really spiraling out of control and he began acting more bizarre. He informed me that he was getting into buying guns and shooting and had purchased a gun safe for his home. As a convicted felon, he is not allowed to have weapons. However, he managed to get a police chief from the church to assist him with expunging his record. Further, he was given a special police badge that says pastor to utilize if he ever gets pulled over, so they will let him go. With the constant discord between JP and Mica and JP's own self-reported mental health struggles, The thought, having access to guns in his home, terrified me for the safety of our children. Line 16, it was about this time that JP began declining picking up our children for visitation, informing me that his mental health was not well enough for him to share time with them. Of course, given the circumstances, I would have refused to let them go. However, having it be JP's idea made it far easier and safer and presented the necessity of filing a legal action with the court. Line 17, one evening, JP informed me that Mica was the one having a mental breakdown and on her way to my house and requested me to hold her when she arrived because he had the police coming. It was my understanding that Mica was trying to get away from JP because he was trying to have her committed again. Our children were home and once again subjected to this severe discord. 18. Mica began calling me on advice for how to free herself from JP, for guidance as to counselors and people to assist her. I prayed with Mica and did all I could do to provide her with sound advice and guidance. Mica shared information with me about things my children were exposed to while in the care of JP and warned me that my children were in danger while in his care. Now, she would go on to say that she felt that this is just not a safe situation, that ever since everything's ended between Alison and JP, he has been very crazy, unaccountable, just projecting onto Mica and then exposing his own children to his crap. So she says that she doesn't want this anymore. She's taken a stand and she's decided enough is enough. And she did that the first time. This guy is dangerous. He's got members of the church to vouch for him, including police. She's given several different examples. I'm not going to show them all, but just a couple of highlights so you can get another proof of idea, receipts of how JP is. March 30th of 2023, this is very relevant to his jealousy of Mica being around other people. He says, Mica moved out so she can hang with her sisters, etc., etc., etc. We are legally separated with an agreement very similar to the one you had drawn up for us minus the kids stuff. Thanks. Peace. Back in September, he said, Mica is officially gone from this house in solid rock forever, and divorce agreement is in effect. Please just keep this between us right now. It's very hard on me, and I don't want added stress. I'm just telling you 'cause it's you. She's all, okay. Okay. He said back in March again, kids home, fed, and I got trash. Mica is returning to MB. Not sure about the future, but for now, I will be helping her get healthy and independent. Tell me what I need to do for kids today. I'm off and have nothing to do, so let me know whatever is needed. He said, are kids okay? She goes, why? He said, by the way, the hole in the bedroom door was Mica, and I have a video of her doing it, so don't worry. I'm not an angry person. Smile face. Alison said, he would rather see us at separate times for his birthday about one of their kids, and he goes, that's fine. I'll stay here. Back in October, Alison said, feel free to bring the kids home a little early tonight so we can get to bed early. He goes, okay. She goes, no dinner and dirty clothes. Like, that's how he sent his kids back, it sounds. He goes, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can right now. Grace, please. I tell her the truth why you legally have lost privileges, and John Paul says, the truth isn't that I lost privileges because of legal mistakes. I don't have the privilege because I signed a paper that you had me sign. But you allowed, I guess, child, to stay the night for a while, and you can always allow it if you want to. Because there's no difference in so-and-so with me in the day, afternoon, night, morning, etc. But again, it's your decision per legal papers. And then she displays text messages where the children are texting Mica and they're asking her to come home and saying dad's crying and he's upset and he can't even get out of bed, la la la. Anyway, that was actually JP pretending to be the children or one of the kids to get Mica to submit to his control, because she was telling seemingly the child, she thought she was, I guess, talking to the child, hey, you know, and it was her 30th birthday. She's like telling the child that it's just not safe. Anyway, she ended up sharing this information with Alison. So I'm going to leave the link down below. Take a look. Wow. I mean, insane. So let's go into hearing this guy talk about himself. Let's talk about it, because he comes out after all of this. And he says that next week he's going to be releasing proof as to how Mica died, and who's responsible. And he says that he has receipts for us. So promises, promises. Before we go in, this was not my interview. Justin on TikTok, credit owed where credit is due. Sir, you are phenomenal. He did an awesome job hosting this interview. He did, in my opinion, the gray rock theory. This is a strategy that involves becoming the most boring and uninteresting person you can be when interacting with a manipulative person.
I'll talk to you, but you got to get Robbie Harvey to hang up and get off the show. Because I was told by a lawyer the other day that the worst thing I could do would be talk to Robbie Harvey.
Robbie, are you okay with that, or
what did he say?
He said basically he was advised. He basically said that he would talk to me if you jumped off because he was advised by I think you said attorney.
Not my attorney, but a friend of
Okay, a friend of his that's an attorney.
That's probably the best advice. Well, I don't. I'm going to be respectful. So I'm not going to be disrespectful. I don't know why your attorney would recommend I not talk to me. But I mean,
you let me know whenever the other guys are available, okay?
All right.
Okay, I appreciate y'all. Robbie, hands up. I'm here.
All right.
Okay, so right out the gate, first thing that JP does, he takes control. He's like, Robbie's got to go. In my opinion, it's all an act. Like, I need to show everybody that this is my platform. Robbie seems offended. I mean, it's an act, but Robbie went off. He went off. So he gave JP what he wanted.
Hey man, how's it going?
Good. So I told them what you said. I read it to them, and I basically said, the way that I worded it was, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but I said, the way I look at it is, my understanding is that you said a friend of yours who's an attorney. This is in regard to Robbie Harvey, guys. A friend of yours who's an attorney advised you not to speak to Robbie due to the defamation suit. And I would imagine that because there's a defamation suit, that's why you would want to speak.
Yeah.
I think he's freezing up.
He's just not very. He's not a nice guy. He's not playing. Hey, are all these people are watching us right now?
Then he comes back on camera and he ends up saying that Robbie is bad. Like, he's really focused on Robbie. Like, he is very threatened by Robbie Harvey. Robbie Harvey is awesome. He's one of my resources. He's somebody that I really trust going to when it comes to this case. I read his stuff. You should go follow him. I'll link his information down below.
So, how did you get hooked up with Robbie Harvey? Because y'all seem extremely different.
Well, Robbie, my
Robbie-
girlfriend,
him.
Robbie, Robbie was on live on Facebook. My girlfriend said something to him about the text you sent me.
Yeah.
And then it just spiraled from there, getting both of them on here
Gotcha.
and walking over.
Oh wow, Justin, it was really great meeting you, and I promise we will chat again. And I appreciate you being kind to me, and I appreciate you being respectful of me. And thank you very much. This was very exciting seeing all that. People just keep on saying stuff over and over. It's and this is live when they say that.
Yeah,
it's
they're typing it right now on their phones.
But the whole point is, the whole time that he's doing this, he's just delighted in the attention that he's getting from people. Like, he sees that there's a chat going, and in my opinion, he's just kind of like, oh, this is attention on my terms. So he ends up sizing Justin up. He's like, what are you about? Like, tell me about you.
This is TikTok.
Are
I
you
also
like
have,
just
like, what do I do?
yeah? Like, what is this? What is this? Are you a crime person, or are you you just
Gotcha.
like what is your passion for this?
Gotcha. So my platform is true crime and current events, primarily. There is some narcissistic, toxic family stuff, which is how the platform started. I've also written 2 children's books over that. So I have this on this platform. I've got 1.3, almost 1.4 million followers I have YouTube as well, and Instagram, of course. And that's typically what it is.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. Can I answer some of the people that are saying stuff? Would that be okay?
You can answer what it's. Hey, here's the thing. It's yours. Do what you want.
So somebody asked about my tattoos, and so these are my favorite scriptures are here.
Well, if you've ever been involved with these kind of people before, then that's what they do. They want to know about you first and foremost. They want to size you up. They want to know like what they're dealing with. And then of course he goes into the chat, you know, what are people saying about me? Oh, and then he talks about himself and his tattoos. And I got such a kick out of it because the whole time he's talking about his tattoos, the video breaks up. So you can't hear anything. Then JP starts answering all kind of questions about himself, like how it's affecting him, that he's not grieving, which is actually an underlining truth.
So like, I'm a hermit now, and I love interacting with people. I don't get to do that much now, but yeah.
Can I? Is it okay if I ask you a question that somebody asked?
I'll see. Let me say this: I want to answer everything, but I don't want to answer it without me holding up my proof and showing it to you, because I think it's just ignorant for someone to just give, you know, their opinion or say something and not have proof behind it when it's something as serious as this is. And so I'll be doing that next week, and I'll love to send you the proof and everything along with the affidavit, most likely.
Okay.
Oh, am I allowed to touch it and scroll down? Because somebody said something I couldn't see. They said,
it's going fast.
JP. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's going fast. Who said be respectful? That was so nice. Someone named Bonnie.
Well, so my lives, JP, we don't tolerate, no matter who it is, no matter what the situation, we don't tolerate people being disrespectful to other people in here as well as the guests. And at this moment, you're the guest, so it's not going to be tolerated.
I have not even start grieving yet. Not even 1 minute. Every time I go to, something else happens that I have to deal with. So I'm planning on, once this is all over, taking some time and doing what I need to do to grieve. But in my mind, she's gonna text me tomorrow and say, hey. So I haven't even started. That. So, and my wife's name is spelled with no H at the end. If it has an H at the end, that means it's a male. It's a boy. So Mica is the girl one. Someone just said, how is he tied to Mica? That was fun.
Somebody is very new to this case then. This story, if they're asking that.
He's not grieving. I mean, it could be a variety of things. I'm not a doctor. I know what my opinion is. I know what that is. But he's not grieving. At some point, this filter gets put on Justin. Like he's got a little crown. I thought that was pretty funny.
So I mean, to be very frank with you, if you wanted to do something, it would probably be better to do it on YouTube, because then you don't have to repeat yourself constantly, but you can still see the questions.
I do want justice for Mica, and I'm going to help bring that. I definitely want justice for Mica. And somebody said, I love the attention. What kind of attention? I hadn't talked to anybody or seen anybody. Yeah, they're saying I love attention. People are just mean too sometimes.
Would you be okay if I asked you a question about an item in a very respectful way?
Sure.
So one of the things that has been said, and this was a couple of weeks ago, that a lot of people made a big, I don't say a big issue, but we'll say big deal about, was a necklace that you were wearing in the interview after she passed away. Was that actually hers, or did you just have a similar one?
No, that was definitely hers. I got it. So she passed away on the Saturday, and then Sunday when I went and saw her, they handed me some stuff, and that was one of the things they handed me. And that necklace was, for some reason, she's heard a story. Mica was very, she could hear something or see a commercial and then immediately want to act on it. And so she heard about these lab diamonds last year, and so even though she loved her wedding engagement band, she wanted the real diamond taken out of that, and she wanted a lab diamond put in, but she didn't want to get rid of that diamond, so she wanted to put it inside of a necklace, and so had it made into a necklace for her. He was wearing that, and the nurse gave me that on that Sunday, and so before I even left the hospital, I already had it on. And
okay.
I just had not taken it off, and actually I'd forgotten it was on the next day or two, or whenever that interview was. I just, but yeah, it's a girl necklace, so I just wanted to feel close to her, so I wore it, when they gave it to me.
Okay. I appreciate you answering it.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go inside.
Just one other question. Okay. They swear up and down that you bought a new truck, and it's not a new truck. You
No,
just
it's
wrapped
not a new truck,
right?
Yeah, just put some stickers on it.
Yeah, he just wrapped it in vinyl and took the stickers off the windows. But people were calling me a liar. I'm like, I see the truck every day.
You had video, yeah. When you got close, you could see that it was a vinyl wrap, and so I actually made that correction.
Well, it's not even
I don't
vinyl
know, a
wrap.
week
It's
and a
just
half ago.
tape. We just put some tape on the back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it comes right off. You just
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you have her cremated? Someone said. I did that because that's what she wanted. We talked a lot about what would happen if one of us passed, and that's something Micah wanted and something I want as well, because we don't believe that the body matters as believers, and so that's what she wanted. Yeah. I'm still wearing my wedding ring. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm still wearing it.
Do you have anything else for him?
And you can you can love somebody and be separated, and you can love them just the same and be divorced. You can love them just the same, be with them. Sometimes it doesn't stop your love for the person. It's like having a kid that you love them and they do something that you don't like, but you still love them the exact same. What's the lady? What cousin? Sorry. Someone just said Satan. Was that a question, or was that just a comment?
Again, I told you we can turn the comments off if you prefer that.
No, I like it. No, not at all. If you're saying anything, I don't. There's no making family do anything. Why I had to put I didn't put a tracking device. Private eye. I did it because I told him to make sure if she was near a gun store to give me a call. And also thought that maybe there was some other reasons. You'll see that next week. You'll find the results of that next week.
Are you able to? If not, it's okay. Are you able to kind of give us a hint on what's coming next week? If you can't, that's fine.
No, just everything that shows why she passed away, who's responsible for it, and that I did every single thing a human being could do and far more to try to keep her alive and keep her safe and keep her healthy. I was the only one. I went to 48 people in 3 months and told them she needs her lithium, and she does not need to be anywhere near a weapon. And nobody believed me. And I showed them proof that her doctor said she was suicidal, and nobody believed me. And I fought. I went to judges, lawyers, doctors, pastors, her friends, and her family. 48 people. And some of those people I went to dozens of times. And anyway, I'm going to run in, everybody. So let's see what else. Anyway, Justin, it was talking to you. It was nice seeing you.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and answer a few questions, and we'll be in touch.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Justin. Have a good night. Good night.
In my opinion, he went pretty dark here. I mean, he didn't like when people weren't taking to him like he was the king. Like, I think he expected us to all be like, oh, JP, it's you. It's really you. Like, you stepped out of your house to talk to me? Wow, cool, it's JP. And when people were calling him out, he was like, what? People are so mean, they don't even know. I'm a hermit. In a nutshell, he went in not knowing what to expect, but wanted control the whole time. And then when he realized kind of where we stood, he started just kind of getting dark on us. And then he's like, well, I'm done. Bye. And then he was seen out at the beach. So that's pretty much the gist of what's going on right now. He says he's a hermit, but yet he's out. He says that he's still wearing his wedding ring, but he's out with women. Like, he's wearing Micah's necklace, but he was very unloving and disrespectful to her during the marriage. He wants custody of his children, but he has a problem messing around with kids that are underaged. The scary part is that he has control within the church of people in leadership, like the police officer, like he's got a lawyer within the church, Tom Winslow. He's got a lot of pull. I'm really hoping that with enough prayer and belief and enough media coming out that people will start to recognize who John Paul Miller really is. Please be kind in the comments. Most of my audience is, but we do have Mica Miller's family on here. And this month happens to hold Father's Day. We can't possibly know what they're going through. We can only imagine. And imagining losing someone the way that she went out after watching her suffer as long as she did. I mean, this is even hard on Alison, the ex-wife, but our love on this channel is all for the Francis family. We're here to love and support, and we are here to be Mica's voice. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I will be seeing you next time for the next content. I'm Chelsea J. Be blessed, loved ones.